Bambi is back, and this time, it's personal. The hunter took his mother. Now he's taking everything else.
Welcome to Bambi's Revenge.
Welcome back, friends, deer hunters, and forest arsonists. You're tuned in to Beer Me That Movie, and today, things get wild.
That's right. This week's feature film is Bambi's Revenge. Not a Disney reboot, a double IPA-fueled bloodbath of forest, fury, and childhood trauma.
Oh my goodness. How did this happen? You picked it. Listeners voted, the people spoke, and Bambi came back with a bandana, a machine gun, and a thirst for vengeance.
But it was close. Shout out to all of you who launched a full-on grassroots campaign for Grannies Gone Wild. That almost upset gave Bambi a serious run for his antlers.
So if you're here for ads, guess what? We don't have them. We're actual podcasters, not just two guys selling you, I don't know, CBD mattresses that are also VPN.
But next week, we're launching a brand new Fast Five, so you will get another chance to vote for your favorite beer turned into cinematic masterpiece.
And hey, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, or follow us on social media. It's the only thing keeping the lights on in our podcast shed, and barely. There are a dangerous amount of candles in here right now.
All right, so cue the creed, light the forest, and buckle up, because this is Bambi's Revenge.
Okay, amazing stuff. Before we jump in, we had a wonderful surprise today. Almost right before we started recording, we got a message on SpeakPipe from Greg Davis. So we're going to listen to that real quick. And Greg has a thought experiment, a comment, an idea, something that I'm excited he shared with us, and we're going to talk about.
Greg's the reason Bambi's Revenge made it into last week's Fast Five, so I think we should at least hear him out. He left us a quick message here.
Hey guys, this is Greg. I want to say I hope the voting is still open, and my vote definitely goes to Bambi's Revenge. One, that was my submission in a comment from a few episodes ago on Spotify. And second, I like the idea of building a Disney little universe. We got Pinocchio. Let's do Bambi next, and then we'll find another classic that we can add to make a trilogy.
Ooh.
Thanks.
So, Harrison, Greg challenges us with an idea that probably we won't be able to pass up. We will need everyone's help to find this beer, but what comes to mind when I ask you for a legally distinct Disney-themed trilogy? We've got Pinocchio from Big Nose.
Yes.
We're about to do Bambi's Revenge. What are you thinking for Lilo and Stitchification or something?
Oh boy, I didn't go there. So I kind of, Pinocchio's an old one, Bambi's an old one. I thought about the older ones, and you've got, of course, Sleeping Beauty. You've got Cinderella. There's tons. You have Fantasia, which is a movie, but tough to.
All I know is dancing
movie.
brooms.
Right, exactly, and flying whales or whatever. That was the later one. But then I remembered one of the most famous Disney movies from that time that I think would be perfect, and there's probably a beer named after it out there. Perfect addition to this trilogy, Dumbo.
Oh,
Dumbo, John. We've talked about flying bears on this podcast before.
Yeah.
Flying elephants are equally, if not more, terrifying. Of course, Dumbo's adorable, but he just hasn't entered our universe yet. So that's where my head went.
And I think Dumbo's mom also was like abused or something.
Sure. Oh yeah,
probably
by the evil circus guy, and that's a terrifying movie, for sure. But again, out of it comes a flying elephant, so there's a lot we can do with that. He'd kind of be the Caped Crusader of these creepy superheroes we're creating out of Disney canon.
I totally forgot Dumbo existed. I forgot that he could
Right.
fly with his ear power.
Yep, exactly. Defying physics, taking lives. I mean, we could have a lot of fun building that up. So that's my vote. But like John said, and like we all know, it's got to be a beer, or at least kind of sound like a beer, have a beer that has to do with Dumbo maybe, or maybe we can loosely, like Big Nose, say, hey, this beer called Big Ears, we can turn it into a Dumbo.
And what we've learned doing this podcast is that there's probably a beer named Big Ears, named Dumbo's Revenge. Probably Red Art might make one.
That's right.
I love the idea.
Yes.
I was thinking Fairy Godmother.
Okay.
She's like just a character.
Sure.
But she had magic powers.
She did.
Which could be fun. It could just be like Desperate Housewives, but Fairy Godmother messing with all of Cinderella's stepsisters.
Yep, and all those mice in that movie too. They could probably be up to no good. So there's a lot of good older Disney movies, obviously, that I think would fit in well with the two we've thrown in. If you guys have a better one, a better idea, something we're not thinking about, let us know. And if you do find a Dumbo themed or close to Dumbo themed beer, you think we could get there in a little bit of a stretch?
Flying Death Machine.
There we
probably
go.
Make that work.
That definitely exists. That would be a not so subtle sequel to Dumbo for sure. We know which way that movie's going. But send them our way. You can message us those beers directly on Untapped, on Instagram. Send us a speak pipe, whatever you want to do. But we keep an eye out for that. We can't turn down a trilogy. There's a few of them in here already.
We've done the sex comedy trilogy.
Right.
People said it couldn't be done.
Next step.
And I love speak pipes because it allows everyone to hear you as well, so you can kind of become part of the podcast.
Heck yeah.
If you can find a certified beer that exists on Untapped called Circus Freaks,
there's
we
a lot.
will Dumboify that for the trilogy. But without keeping anyone waiting, we've got some work to do.
We do.
We've got a forest to burn down. So buckle up, because here comes the feature film.
Any similarities to real people, events, or poultry-based gym transformations are purely coincidental.
So before we get into Bambi's Revenge, I thought it was a good idea to talk about Bambi, the origin story of today's hero. Because if you're like me, it's been about 30 years since I saw this movie. Some of you may be older. It was longer, rather. It came out in like the 30s or the 40s, I think.
I remember that we didn't know if Bambi was a boy or a girl.
Right.
All I really knew is that Bambi's mom died in front of him.
Yes.
And there was a rabbit involved.
Correct. Yeah, that was mostly what stuck out to me. The April Showers song, the Something Nice to Say, Don't Say Anything at All, which kind of propelled this movie into existence, I think. So I'm going to take a minute or two just to give everyone else the same backstory, set the scene a bit, jog some memories, maybe some childhood trauma about Bambi. So the high-level breakdown, Bambi is a boy born to his mom. No surprises so far. But the kind of shadow that Bambi lives under is that one day he's supposed to take over the position of the great prince of the forest.
Disney
John.
loves nepotism.
Yes, they do. All the way down.
Didn't know that at all.
I know.
Bambi was basically Aragorn from Lord of the Rings.
Yes, exactly. Destined to pull the sword out of the stone or whatever. So whatever woodland version of that, the acorn out of the tree trunk, whatever you got to do to become the great prince of the forest. So the great prince of the forest job is to guard all the woodland creatures. And the current great prince of the forest is Bambi's father. Bambi doesn't know that. Grows up loving his mom. Who doesn't? Spends his time playing with, Thumper and a skunk named Flower. Meets a female fawn named Faline, and they have a lovely childhood, rolling around in the flowers, thinking about life. And
didn't even know Bambi had a sort of girlfriend.
Right, yes.
Faline?
Faline, I believe. I don't remember. Faline. I don't know. We're not going to get too lost in that.
We're going to call her Faline.
We're calling her Faline. If she
I'm gonna call her Bambi's girlfriend.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
just like I'm Bambi's uncle, because his dad sucked. I didn't even know he had a dad. Prince of the Forest, but never around.
Well, exactly right. He's pretty absent, this guy, this Prince of the Forest. I guess he's busy being the prince. But so anyway, one day Bambi sees the great prince, doesn't know it's him. At the same time, the hunter, this human hunter that everyone refers to as man, that's all the animals refer to this hunter.
Makes sense.
Makes sense. They don't, they're animals. Comes into the meadow. Everyone's running away from him.
They didn't want to name the hunter Greg Davis like we do. Yeah,
it would be. Maybe tonight Greg will show up as the hunter. We got to figure that out.
I don't want to do that to you, Greg.
Yeah, you're right.
You might not get named in this movie, but only for your own good.
That's fair enough. Good point. Good call. They get separated. Shots are fired. The Great Prince saves everybody. And at that moment, everyone's safe, and kind of Bambi sees the power of the Great Prince, yada, yada. The next time, not so lucky. It's just Bambi and his mom. The man shows up again as they run off. That's when Bambi's mom is killed. No, and Bambi's alone for a little bit. And the Great Prince shows up, takes him under his wing. And the rest of the movie is kind of Bambi growing up, again, learning about life and nature, and it's good and it's bad, or it's yin and yang, whatever. But it ends with him growing up and kind of, it seems like he's taking on the mantle of the Great Prince of the Forest. He's got his cool dear wife. Maybe they have some kids, but man is messing stuff up, burning down part of the forest, and it's up to Bambi to kind of make sure that doesn't happen. So that's kind of how the movie ends. In terms of plot, we're not going to sit here and talk about it. Sure, it has one, but it's more about kind of like growing up and understanding that the world and nature is kind of an unforgiving place, and
little circle of lifey.
Yeah, exactly.
Honestly, it doesn't sound too far off from The Lion King.
Yep.
Way to be inventive. I guess they did switch from deers to lions.
Right,
but,
right, exactly. Prey to predators, but
same
a similar
sort of story.
Exactly right. You learn a lot.
And also, thanks for running down that, because for me, the Bambi movie was a forest, a rabbit, Bambi's mom got shot, roll credits. I forgot all about the fire at the end. And
exactly right.
Bambi's girlfriend had twins.
Right. I was going to say, maybe. Yeah, apparently that is what happened. But similar to you, my memory was like, Bambi has some animal friends. Do they become a throuple? I don't remember. It all just is kind of blank after the mom dying, and then eventually the movie ends. So,
Phelan, why do our twins have long floppy ears like Thumper?
I don't know what you're talking about, Bambi.
No, those are just like your ears, Bambi.
Go do Great Prince stuff.
You've got your eyes and
a little bit of some other things. I don't know. It was a wild night.
Big front teeth. They love carrots like you do.
You love carrots, right? Yeah. You're just making stuff up. Okay. Am I? That one has a skunk tail.
So Disney's Prince of the Forest, Bad Dad. Well, maybe we'll see if that continues.
Yeah.
Are you ready to launch Act 1 of Bambi's Revenge?
Yes, I am, John. Now that we have the past out of the way, let's jump into the future.
Moving on to Act 1.
Okay, so the movie's Bambi's Revenge, and Act 1 opens up, we'll call it The Blood Begins in Spring.
Okay, yes. Of course it does.
Naming the acts has become one of my favorite parts.
I love it.
I think Disney does a good job in a lot of their movies showcasing the clarinet as like the voice of the forest, the voice of the animals, right? Like the only reason any of us know what a clarinet sounds like is from Disney or Looney Tunes. This movie has to have a pretty killer soundtrack, Harrison.
Yes, I do. And I think it's time, John, to bring in the one and only, a band from my childhood, a band that everyone didn't like for a long time, and now they're having a moment. So cool, I'm here for it. No, I'm not talking about Nickelback. I'm talking about Creed. Creed.
Yeah.
So I want to. So I think we should. This movie is going to be Creed's Phil Collins doing the Tarzan soundtrack moment. This is going to be the greatest thing Creed ever does, doing the soundtrack for Bambi's Revenge. And there's going to be a lot of Creed tonight, so we can't bring it up enough, so apologies in advance, but it's going to start the movie. Scott Zapp is going to be singing about, let's go there into the forest again. Let's...
All I know about Creed is with
hooves wide open. Yeah, we're gonna.
Is that their only song? Do they have more?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Good question. There was a whole CD. What was on it was
just versions of
don't
You're
right. So we're gonna build out their discography tonight with a couple of, tastefully thrown in at least one-liners that help propel this story forward a little bit. So Creed is a big character tonight in this movie, which we've never done that, never talked about a soundtrack. So fun. It's happening with Bambi's Revenge. Creed is the one.
This is the first bullet point of Act 1. We'll see if we remember to bring it up one more time. Let's get into the film. So Bambi 1 ends with Faline giving birth to maybe Bambi's twins.
Right.
And a giant fire happening because the man's hunting cabin or something caught a big fire.
Right.
So we're going to say we're picking up this story, I don't know, 5-10 years later.
Yes.
So the forest is still recovering from that big burn and probably not recovering from man's infringement.
No
like
way.
A bunch of old refrigerators and shit just thrown out into the forest.
I loved that. Your contribution, part of your contribution to the Fast Five was like a bunch of old dishwashers and broken down Chevys, and it looks like a lot of forests do now, unfortunately, where it's mostly full of man's garbage.
Growing up, I remember playing in the woods with my cousins, and there was this one like spot in the woods where it wasn't a proper dump, but you'd find like there were old cars and all kinds of kitchen appliances, and we'd always go in there and try and like find gold, but really it was just a compressor from the 30s full of poison.
It's a bunch of old propane tanks. Don't touch that.
This is all lead. Okay, great.
Good, exactly.
Sounds fun.
I love lead. Lead sounds fun. Right, exactly. Can I eat it? Only for a little while.
So like a Little John, these deers and forest creatures are getting pushed out of their own sweet soft woods.
Yeah, and that could almost even be like the opening shot, close to the opening shot, as you see the woods kind of from above, and then it kind of just shrinking over time to where it's almost just like an island of woods left, and humanity and cities and shopping malls and whatever is kind of popping up all around it. But these animals are not going to take things lying down, and I think we should meet one of America and the world's favorites right now. Re-meet one of the funnest things from the Fast Five, the one and only Thumper, kind of emerging and kicking this movie off. So instead of it being Bambi, we get Bambi's right-hand man, and we already said this, so we're going to keep it going from the Fast Five. He's super jacked. I'm imagining him similarly jacked to Chicken John Cena from Nugget Nectar, just bulking and hulking.
Thumper is on the Nugget Nectar.
Yeah, exactly, which is just rabies for him. But like we said...
No, I don't do water anymore. I don't go near water.
Get that stream away from me. Right, he's maybe a little bit secretly happy the streams are full of sludge and not water because he can't drink it anymore because of the rabies. But it's at bay somehow. He's got some symbiotic relationship with it. But every once in a while, he kind of Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde's into some kicking, blood curdling monstrosity that if you can harness it, much like the Hulk or like Mr. Hyde, you could use it maybe as a weapon. But no one's there to do that. So Thumper, at least we don't see that right now in the beginning. We see Thumper, and I'm imagining him almost like so he's chain smoking, he's super jacked, he's drooling a little bit, but he's almost dressed like a drill sergeant, or he's giving drill sergeant vibes. And,
like a jacked, bigger Arlie Ermy with a meth habit that lives under a bridge.
Just grinding his teeth. Chunk out of one of his ears. His fur's all matted down.
He's got a necklace of a rabbit's foot on it. Like another rabbit's foot.
Yes, that no one's allowed to talk about. That can't be real, is it? Don't look at it. Don't bring it up. It's Thumper, right? Kind of, exactly.
They call me Thumps now, kid. Listen, Thumper, we got to calm you down, bud. Go do push-ups until you pass out again.
Exactly.
That usually works.
Right. Open up the water bottle near him. It'll calm him down. He hates water. And I'm imagining kind of in front of him a ragtag group of smaller bunnies, maybe some skunks, chipmunks, and they're kind of training, it looks like, maybe doing push-ups, jumping jacks, whatever. Things are different. They're not rolling around in flowers like they were in the original Bambi. The forest is under attack. They're losing their homes. you know, and they're punching a bunch of toxic waste barrels trying to get stronger. And I'm almost imagining the way that we establish Thumper in this scene is one of the little rabbits is, you know, punches a barrel, ow, my hand, and Thumper turns around and said, who said that? Who's crying? We don't have time to cry here. No time to bleed. Our force is under attack.
You don't want to punch the barrel. I'll put you over there with a chipmunk horse. Camera pans over. You see some of Thumper's ladies.
Right, exactly. Not looking very well at all. It's
No,
tough. It's tough.
no.
It's tough in a small community with no antibiotics and your animals constantly doing what animals do. Yeah, that's a heck of a threat. And you know, but the little bunny kind of holds his paw and he's like, let me see that, Thumper. Let me see that. You got to stop punching with your fist. Start punching with your rabbit brain. I mean, your heart. And it's trying to motivate these kind of tired, scared little woodland creatures as best he can, but it's obviously not going very well. But they have no choice. They're under attack. Their home's disappearing every day. And Thumper, in his fits of clarity, is when the rabies kind of gives him a break, is smart enough to know, like, if I don't do something, who's going to do it? And we're, as the audience, will be questioning, like, well, where's Bambi in all this? What's happening?
I was just going to say, like, this should bring us to, okay, we've seen Thumper's turned into a crazy man.
Right.
Raising a militia.
Yes, exactly.
As best as his brain will allow him to do it.
Right.
And he might even like old Bambiisms, where like I'll say something nice, go fuck yourself. Prince of the Forest has left us all.
Right.
Like,
right.
and that kind of brings you to like, where is Bambi?
Exactly.
Right. Like, and
I
then
love that.
Again, we'll pan over and we'll see Bambi not gothed out, but like. But like kind of acting like a goth kid on a cruise ship, right? Where he's just like his kids aren't around, Faylene's not there. It's just Bambi like head up against a tree looking like Bambi's sad, right? Like Bambi didn't anticipate inheriting the collapse of the forest.
Right. I think that's a great point, is that like maybe how clear we are with it in the movie, it will be, you know, is up for debate, but like that's a great point, John. Maybe, okay, at the end of Bambi, he's the great prince of the forest or whatever. The forest is getting taken away from him. Maybe he leaves in like shame, like I'm the last great prince of the forest. Couldn't handle it. Didn't have a mom's shoulder to cry on. So he just kind of bailed. He had a moment of weakness and let it take him away. But I like this. Now we kind of see him for the first time coming back, but not confidently, not as a stronger Bambi with a plan yet. Just kind of, maybe we don't know why he's returning or whatnot to the forest. He certainly, you may feel he doesn't want to after, right, Thumper is kind of grumbling about some great prince. We don't talk about great prince. There are no great princes left. No great princes coming for us. We got to do it ourselves. As he freaks out,
like
spits up a little bit of blood.
I love his clicks.
Oh, God, he's doing it
His
again.
ears go up,
Right,
and then
exactly.
his ears go
Get the water,
down,
get the
like
water.
with each click.
Get the water.
I like the idea of, so Bambi on this kind of, we pick up on Bambi in his journey sort of back to the main story of the forest. And in his journey, I want him to see like, not hallucinate, but like flashbacks, right? He's going to have flashbacks and see his mom getting shot and remember some of the lessons, like all the forest creatures are all good. I don't know what they said in the first Bambi, but I assume it was something like that. So he's like torn. He's remembering this great time in his life, haunted by flashbacks of his mother dying from man, and now his whole force, which he was born to protect, is being stripped away from him by man. And then he comes back and he eventually encounters Thumper.
Thumper cracking out. But I like that. And maybe one of the flashbacks he has that maybe sends him, as he's outside the forest deciding, gosh, am I going back to this place or not? Is the vision from his mother when he's a young fawn, kind of like, Mom, but what if something happens to the forest one day? What'll I do? And she says something like, you know, the forest isn't a place. The forest are your friends. Wherever your friends are, that's where you should be.
A great Bambi mom.
Very, right. The James Earl Jones version of this which if I try to do it, it'll just sound like Scarlett O'Hara again. So we're gonna just leave it at that. But that maybe finally sends him back, and he's like, all right, I can't keep running from this. I'm just gonna get hit by a car. I gotta go back to the woods.
It's true. That is a deep-seated fear.
Right. The car. There's a car. That's something. Just in a porch light. Yeah, Bambi is going back, and is going to face whatever complaints and issues that come up that after he left. He'll deal with it. The time is now. The forest is almost gone. He's got to stand up and do something for his friends. And so he's back.
And I think that quote, that memory quote from his mom about the forest is basically your community is your forest, right? Like,
yes,
that is
the forest is also a place that's burning down. So Bambi will fail, maybe
mechanically.
But
the forest is in a real shit place right now. If the forest was also a ghetto, it would be Bambi's former estate.
Yeah. Yes.
But I think that's a good, like, that is a very Disney memory flashback where he's like, okay, yep, I'm back on my path. I'm going to do this. I'm going to be committed. I'm going to work with Thumper. Gets up to Thumper, and Thumper's got this announcement that the militia is ready.
Yes.
And the forest is done passively being destroyed.
Right.
The spirits are telling me that now is the time for us to act our revenge on man.
Yes. The time is nigh.
Are you sure it's the spirits, Thumper?
Right. Are you sure it's not just the voices in your head?
They're spirits.
Those are the spirits. They gotta be. They won't stop talking. I have to do something to quiet them.
He's like cranking out push-ups while he's telling Bambi all this stuff.
Right. And so I like this. So Thumper is angry kind of briefly, but then happy to see Bambi again. And maybe that's a great first scene is this kind of attack that Thumper's half planned with his ragtag group of smaller woodland creatures that aren't very trained at all. And maybe Bambi shows up like right before that. So Thumper doesn't even have time to be angry with him. He's kind of like, today is the day. We know they're going to try to cut down the old friendship tree to build some.
Love it. So Disney.
To build some dumb gazebo. We're not going to let it happen. So I've got my mates here, these little woodland creatures. And
Crew.
Exactly. Half of them are standing there backwards. One's on his head.
So Disney. Love this.
The skunk releases a bunch of skunk juice all over the place. Because he's scared of loud noises.
It's a defense and an offense mechanism.
Exactly right.
I do it sometimes on command.
Watch that trigger finger, soldier. I'm sorry, I have a nervous anus.
Look, the forest creatures are mutating. It was one thing that man was encroaching on our forest, but now it's like I don't even have chipmunks to be good whores anymore. This one only has 4 teats. They're supposed to have 6 teats.
What happened to her teats?
Skunky can't even hold his juice in.
Yeah, that's right. We're all gone to shit. Clearly things are dire, but I think it'd be a fun scene for Bambi to kind of show up and watch Thumper try to do this attack and mostly fail. Like, maybe it just ends with him hitting the construction worker in the head a bunch of his feet. He drops his sandwich on the ground. The skunk, sprays someone in the face. Someone else throws up. One of the chipmunk barfs on another construction person, and they're all like, "Oh my god!" And the only thing that really flees them out of the forest is they catch an eye line of Thumper, who's foaming at the mouth, covered in blood, half an ear gone, with another rabbit's foot around his neck, and they're like, "Holy crap! Let's get out of here, guys!" And so just by luck and Thumper's madness, they succeed in scaring these construction guys away for a little bit, and they look at it as a victory. But Bambi's, I would imagine, kind of shaking his head like, I came back to hopefully save this forest, but my God, they should burn it to hell. Like, we have no chance. What's John
Close.
got? John's got it.
But we're going to redact a little bit.
Okay.
So this happens. Only one of the construction workers stumbles as he's trying to escape.
Okay.
And Thumper charges at him and lands a big old double thump kick on his knee, pushing it backwards. Ugh. The construction worker falls over. His helmet flies off mid-fall, smacks his head on the back of the log. He's out cold.
Yes.
We have our first forest fatality.
Okay.
And it's messy, but the forest, and more importantly, Bambi sees this and becomes inspired. You can you can fight man and win?
Ooh.
Like, this is brand new
I like
to
it.
him.
I like
He's
it.
felt like there's never
right.
been a way out of this box, but now for the first time, he sees hope in the
Right.
form of murder.
Right, right, exactly. Well, I like that a lot. Yes, it was impossible for him to even see how they could succeed. And in this mostly failed attempt, there was a victory in this battle, one that Bambi didn't even think was possible. And this is great, John. So now this is sending him, it's just, like anything else, not that we're all being confronted with, murder worked in our lives. Anytime you have a plan, it's not a great plan, and then half of it works, you're like inspired by it.
Yeah, if you're being oppressed by something you consider to be a god, you feel
Right.
hopeless.
Right.
But if that god stubs its toe,
Yeah.
then you're like, wait a minute.
Exactly right.
You're not a god. You're just a dude in a fancy suit.
Right, exactly. He gets pants in the middle of a Denny's. Right. You're just a guy with horrible underwear. God.
If it can bleed, it can Bambi. Bambi knows that it can die. He's seen enough of that.
Maybe that's what Thumper says to him. If he bleeds, they can die. Then he throws up and then runs into the water and runs out of the water. Oh my God, get out of here. So Bambi helps him, ushers them all away, but I like that. Looks over his shoulder at this guy bleeding on the ground, dead, and is like, maybe there's hope. Maybe we have to do things we never thought we could do before, and takes that message with him. And now we got some training montages. We got Act 2 is going to be a lot of building up the team and getting ready to really wreak some havoc. Get their Rambo or maybe their Bambo.
Bambo. Yeah, Bambi picks up the handkerchief from the construction worker.
Yes.
Wraps it around.
It was wrapped around his sandwich and now wraps it around, wraps it around his forehead.
The prince of the forest is returning piece by piece.
God, yes.
So we'll see you with full-on Bambo in Act 2.
Things are heating up. Welcome to Act 2.
Act 2, Operation Bambo begins. Bambo might not even get a suit if we just call the whole thing Bambo, but no, this is Bambi's revenge.
Sure.
Where he just so happens to become sort of Rambo-esque.
Yeah, he's got a lot of cool names, I bet, at the end of this. A lot of sweet nicknames.
So I think Act 2, in the transition from Act 1 to Act 2, you see, as Harrison was talking about, like training montages, maybe a couple new maybe even like there's a special ops snake and there's animals, not people, animals,
right.
kind of gearing up and falling into their respective roles.
I like that. And I think even let's take, so two things. I think news of the guy dying on the construction person dying on the construction site, which is what we're saying has happened, broken knee, hit his head, dead. It spreads. So it spreads through the forest, which is a great recruiting tool. Of, now the man can bleed, man can die too.
They put up posters
it's not just us, right?
Only you can be hunted unless you fight back.
Right, you're the hunter now. And it's just it's a picture of the chipmunk brothel, and they're all kind of all zonked out. That's the best picture we could have. We don't even take pictures. We're animals. But so it's spreading through the forest. But I think maybe also we get our first glimpse at the antagonist, the bad guy of this movie. Maybe just see him from behind. News also spreads through the human world to like the main office on the construction site. And some guy runs in and says, "Yeah, boss, you wouldn't believe it today. We're out there just trying to do what we always do, cutting down this big old tree, and the animals are going crazy. Animals, you couldn't handle a couple of animals. I was like that. It was like a rabid. Johnny's dead." And he puts down his cup of coffee slowly, increases his paper, and straightens his shirt. This mysterious kind of shadowed figure, and says, "Show me." And that's maybe all we see. So this is happening in the human world at the same time.
Johnny didn't opt for death and dismemberment on his employment contract.
Right, just roll him into the river. Not our problem anymore. Johnny never worked here.
This is a good way to introduce it can't just be forest animals killing random people.
Sure, of course.
But I think that can happen. Like it can be during some of the humans. This boss character that's been introduced maybe wants to go out and see what's happened, file his report so insurance doesn't go up for him.
Right.
But in the meantime, there's like hikers being kidnapped and harassed, and people going through the forest and stuff as humans have encroached on it. Yeah. The animals have learned, like, we can fight back and take this. And one of the things that happens that might be a little atypical is there's a man hiking through the forest, and he's got an assault rifle because he feels like he needs that to be safe in the forest. Protected amendment, can't do anything about it. But in this case, the animals catch wind of this. Like the machine that was used to kill Bambi's mom is back in the forest. It's returned. And there's a secret special ops led by the snake that goes in there, and he brings his four-legged feated crew to help out. Of course. And they retrieve the rifle, and they present it to Bambi as like, now you have the power of man.
Ooh, I like that, like Excalibur or whatever. Again, I'm going to reference that a lot tonight, I guess. But I like that. It's ceremonial, but also right. Like,
yeah, because he has hooves.
He's got a boomstick. And I think that's the moment is Bambi picks it up with his hooves and just drops it. Like, well, thanks for doing that, guys.
How does it work? He drops it and a round goes off, and he's like, oh, got it.
Got it. We just throw it and it fires.
Cool. They bought this on sale.
Perfect. I like that. So they've kind of grabbed some human technology that could probably be useful later. And I'm imagining this whole thing being very similar to the classic movie The Patriot with Mel Gibson, where these missions that Bambi and Thumper and these other woodland creatures are going on, there's stealthy little rogue ambush missions, but they're kind of using them as training missions. They're like trying to get smarter and faster and learning about the humans and what they can do, and trying to calm Thumper's rabies down enough to have him focus long enough. And this is kind of going well, and it's one of those fun montages where they, like John said, they attack the hiker, and then it's written up in the local paper, but they get the hiker's fanny pack full of better food than the sludge they're eating.
Nugget nectar.
Yeah, right. It's a nugget nectar bar, now in bar form.
It's just a little plastic packet of juice. Comes out like peanut butter paste.
Oh, that'd be good. Yes. Okay. Cool. So we got some nugget nectar and weapons.
Strong.
It's lining up well.
I want Bambi to issue a command to his forces as he grows into this dark Bambi too, where the command is, bring me a human finger.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Because that is what I need to operate this man kill machine.
And maybe it is. Yeah. It's, and again, a montage within a montage of like, maybe not Thumper, but another woodland creature like sneaking into a library and grabbing like a manual for a gun and bringing it back, and Bambi thumbing through it or hoofing through it, and then realizing
not thumbing yet.
Right, seeing the diagram of a man pulling the trigger and him looking at his hooves and going, I must find a way, and then demanding a human hand or finger or whatever. And I think so as all these things are happening, I think what will kind of stop this hilarious montage is maybe they are ready to jump, whether it's an ATVer or another construction worker, and they go to a part of the forest that used to be the forest, but now it's a cleared out field, and a huge sign is sitting in that field that says future site of Tranquil Pines luxury cabins.
Ooh, and so a stab in the back.
Oh, exactly.
Or face, really.
Or anywhere.
Yeah.
Hoof, tail. And so now, and that the word gets back to Bambi and Thumper and everyone in this kind of militia that's now built up in the woods about Tranquil Pines luxury cabins, and they kind of have like a name and a target, and that changes everything. Now it's not just beating up on man here or there with these little raid missions that, yeah, they're gaining supplies, but what are they doing? Are they really saving the forest? They're not. Now they can kind of have something to go after, a thing to stop whatever is behind this building, this raising of the forest for these cabins. We have to stop.
True.
them.
Rebel fighters are only rebel fighters until they can unify against something. And it's this Tranquil Pines.
Tranquil Pines, luxury cabins.
Oh, God, it sounds terrible.
It's probably real. It's probably real, and it probably
$1,200 a night to go camping.
Right, exactly.
Right,
exactly right.
With
Treating
a hot
it
tub.
With a hot tub and not a bug for a mile. Eradicated them all.
Paved walkways.
Ooh, I can still see the mall from here. This is perfect.
Yeah.
Exactly exactly what I wanted.
Starlink and regular Wi-Fi.
Yeah, so just the worst of the worst, destroying the forest. They should really be having these cabins in, because humans don't know any better. And so this is seen as kind of like maybe the animals see it as almost like a victory of like, now we know where they are, we know where they're building, we know what their plan is, now we can stop them. But this perhaps sends Bambi down like a dark path as he's kind of looking back again at like his life and the loss of his mother, and these raids have been going on that have, again, filled him maybe not as much as he thought they would. And is he ready for a challenge like this? He left. He's still the prince that left the forest. Can he take on something as big as Tranquil Pines Luxury Cabin sounds? He doesn't know.
No prince has ever left the forest, but no prince has ever taken down man either.
That's right.
And I think Bambi in this moment where he's having this kind of crisis of faith stumbles upon a man camping, old-fashioned style camping, and Bambi remembers a lesson from. Is it just Bambi's mom? She didn't ever got a name?
No, just Bambi's mom.
So Bambi remembers a lesson from his mom about how sometimes man comes into the forest and uses it like an animal, and these are generally good creatures, and you're encouraged to stay away, but don't fear, right? But Bambi's first thought is, I got antlers now, bitch, move.
That's right.
And he's like 3-point stancing or whatever the deer version is, and he's ready to charge. And the man comes out of the tent and stands up, and he says, "Wow, look at this beautiful deer." And Bambi remembers, like, "Oh my God, I'm what they call a deer."
Right.
And he stops, and they kind of have this moment, and Bambi and the man look over at the sign, Luxury Pines. And Bambi, of course, wearing a Rambo handkerchief with an assault rifle strapped to him, and they have this moment of connection that only Disney type movies can convey, where Bambi shows off the instructions for an assault rifle, and he sees the hand, and the man. He's wearing like a Vietnam hat and something, and he understands what Bambi is trying to do. And the man,
are you trying to get me to teach you to shoot deer,
lays his hand out on the camping wood that he's been using, and the man severs his finger.
Good Lord!
And hands it to Bambi, and he says, "Give him hell, dear."
Right. Love that. Then covers his hand in bourbon, drinks a half bottle, and passes that next to the fire.
Yet never to be seen again. No other woodland creature has interacted with this man. Bambi's trying to explain where Bambi killed a man and bit his finger off. No. I met one. He was cool, and he gave me this.
But maybe it does add to Bambi's lore. Thumper kind of cuts him off. Bambi claimed another. Bambi's doing it. We're all doing it. Rally behind Bambi. It's his Spartacus moment. And it's like, Bambi, I'm with Bambi. The great prince of the forest has returned. And it's this amazingly exciting moment. And this is all perhaps happening on the eve of like the big kind of groundbreaking ceremony for Tranquil Pines Luxury Cabin. It's going to happen that in the next morning. And so the animals quickly devise a plan to crash that party, baby. And another fun montage of Bambi, like, maybe we don't see how he's going to get the finger sewed to his hoof or whatever. I guess that's movie magic. We don't need to have him montage.
We could bring back. Who would one of his kids, his girlfriend? We could bring back. What was the skunk?
Flower. Yeah, there we go. Maybe
there
Flower
was like a friend from version Bambi 1.
Yeah, takes a flower stem and it's like, I can use this to put that man's finger on your hoof, Bambi.
Yeah, Flower a bit of a pacifist, but crafty.
Crafty, exactly right. Loves making baskets, all kinds of whatever, sewing, cross stitching. Flower's all about it. And maybe comes back with his son, who would probably be called Petal or something at this point.
Love it.
And we're joining the cause. How can we help? Well, I need to get this human finger on my hoof. What do you got? I could use this stem on this dandelion to wrap it around, I guess. All right, works for me. Welcome to the team, Flower. It's been a long time.
Quartermaster.
Right,
you've been promoted.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah. Oh,
go check in with Thumper. He'll put you to work. We need uniforms. We need uniforms for everyone. We're the this is going to be the Red Art Militia, right? Red Art's the people that made Bambi's Revenge.
Red Heart, I think. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, exactly right. The Red Heart Militia. I like that. That's perfect. That's a great name too. And yeah. So they're all gathered together. Animals wearing clothes. Bambi's wearing a bandana. Has a machine gun. Has at least one trigger finger sewed onto his body somehow. How he moves it, again, don't ask. We'll find out next. And I think that can be kind of how Act 2 ends. Is, we're in the middle of the field. All the humans are there, or dressed up in their fancy, dumb human clothes. The mayor is there with a big scissor, and there's a ribbon in front of Tranquil Pines Luxury Cabins, and they're getting ready. There's some cameras. This would be good, like cameras there and stuff, because they're gonna cut the ribbon on.
Yeah, you're opening up a giant, expensive luxury camping cabin. There's
Right,
gonna be some news coverage. You've asked to be there.
And maybe it's Tranquil
Hey,
Pines
Tom,
luxury
I'm here for the opening of the Luxury Pines Tranquil Cabin. I can't remember what it's called. Damn it.
Cabins and casino.
Exactly.
So that's getting covered, and they attack it. They wait till the cameras are rolling, people are there, and I say attack, I mean it's a bunch of animals running out of the woods, kind of mostly quiet because they're rabbits and skunks and stuff. And
But
Bambi.
Creed is playing.
Oh, that's right. That's right. So, and that could be how should it actually be playing, like the newscasters talking about it's a beautiful day here and what used to be a nice forest, but will soon be a small condominium.
Maybe Creed is there for the opening on a stage.
Yeah, right. They're like, God, I can't believe Scott Stapp's just like, whatever, pays the bills. I got 3 houses. I got a lot of my heating bill.
Come down to Tranquil Pines. We're gonna have Creed playing for the opening.
One morning only. These morning shows are rough. They're all clearly hungover, or maybe they're not. I don't know. You just hear the guitar strumming, and then out of the woods comes Bambi, flanked by these crazy, dirty, but now dressed in kind of militia-like gear, animals flying through the crowd. And it's, people running, screaming, getting trampled, Thumper hitting people in the face with his feet. The little chipmunks are crawling up people's dresses and biting them all over. Skunks are spraying people in the face. I don't know if Bambi should be firing his weapon in the crowd.
Oh, no. Bambi's definitely firing the weapon into the crowd. I mean, there's a lot of instances where firing a weapon into a crowd lately
it's not great.
Has been pretty bad. I understand that, but
I guess
this is a cartoon.
I was going to
movie.
say, we have to remember also, Bambi's a deer with a deer-sized brain. Like, the plans are not as well developed as a Tom Cruise movie. It's just destroy the people. I have this finger now.
And I think
let's let it rip.
Like, people took his mom. People are taking the very forest which he was kind of born into. Right. So it's it's bad it is definitively bad to fire a weapon into a crowd of people.
Sure.
But for Bambi, in this imaginary film, I think I want it to happen.
Right.
Maybe he's not a good shot. He's a deer with a human finger strapped to his hoof.
It doesn't
but he's
work
shooting
well.
it, and it's firing up.
People are freaking out.
Animals, and we're seeing some big jumping rabbit kicks,
and it's happening. And I wonder if, like, at that moment, right? So there's the crowd, people running, screaming, animals jumping on people, but kind of back away from the crowd in his huge Ford pickup truck is that shadowy man from earlier that we saw, that learned about the construction worker dying and took note of it, kind of watching what's happening in horror and also curiosity, and just looks down at Bambi, kind of as his gun is shaking him all over the place as he's dancing around this field. And this man takes his sunglasses off and maybe says something like, couldn't be, or he's returned, or, something like that, where cluing in on what's happening and building us into what will be the third act, where we've got to have a showdown, John. There's some comeuppance coming that we need to address.
I like this kind of final scene, the boss, the man in the truck, but then I also want to have a voice from off screen say, like, it's getting too hot. It's getting too hot. We gotta go. And you see an older man driving the truck with a shotgun in his lap.
Perfect.
And somehow you realize that's the shotgun that was used to originally kill
100%.
Bambi's mom. And then we drive off, fade to black. Here comes Act 3.
This is it, the final showdown, Act 3.
So Act 3, best title of the three of them, is called a son for a mom.
Yes. Ooh, all right.
Maybe a little foreshadowy.
Maybe a little bit. I think we all know where this is going, though, or
Yeah,
kind
it's
of.
fair.
We kind of know where
Bambi's
it's going.
Revenge, not Bambi's
Right.
Awakening.
Right. Yeah. No, that's a different movie. It's much more nudity. So this one is filled with blood. And I wonder if, gosh, like we'll have to mechanically kind of figure out how to do this, or if this is even the best way to do it. But I wonder if, like, as this is happening, as Bambi is in this field firing randomly as people are running away, he maybe looks up to the top of the hill, to that truck we were just talking about with the man and his son in it, as they start to back away, and he like senses something. Being the great prince of the forest, let's just say that you have some ability to sense things that not everybody else can sense.
It's a prestigious title.
Right.
It's got to come with some sort of homebrewed talent skill.
Right. And maybe like, Bambi looks up and just without even realizing it says like, is that him? And maybe Thumper sees this and in a moment of clarity kind of clicks back in, sees Bambi, sees the truck, and like runs up and gets a closer look and maybe even sees the shotgun or sees him drive away or whatever. We're able to confirm this suspicion, and it like maybe in the moment kind of like destroys Bambi almost, of like, my God, like the man was here who took my family, my life away, who destroyed everything. And again, it's one of those moments where the people run, the animals are victorious, but Bambi is on this different path of like, that's yes, it's great we used to tackle ATV people and hikers. It's great we scared off these construction folks from their ceremonial ribbon cutting, but they're going to be back tomorrow with those big machines. They have guns. We're still doing nothing.
We only have one human finger between the lot of us.
And a gun that has no more what I think are called bullets. And what are we doing here? So again, he's unsatisfied, and maybe this victory is somewhat short-lived. And they turn to Bambi. What do we do, Bambi? What do we do? Thumper, Bambi, help us, tell us, we'll do whatever. We want them to stop. We win our forest back. We didn't think it could happen, but it feels so close now. And Bambi and Thumper kind of get together and, devise the only plan they have is like, and maybe it's just Thumper being like, Bambi, you know what we need to do? You need to take the Prince of Man away, or whatever the name they have for the man. You need to eliminate him. If you stop him,
he's the one that started this
that's
whole
right.
thing.
He's the one behind the stupid cabins that are killing our forest. If he's not here, the cabins aren't here. And it's that simple.
Maybe Flower comes through with a more passive message,
Sure.
like we've scared him off, we've showed him what we can do. We've earned our right to stay in the forest. I think we should celebrate. And Thumper's going in the opposite direction.
Right.
This causes Bambi to have his first human-like existential crisis, where he kind of has a panic attack, and here's here's like a new message from his mother.
Or as he's, instead of his mom, there was also a character in the original Bambi called the Friendly Owl.
Ooh,
A wise old owl.
love it. Didn't know he existed, but I'm glad he did.
I think he, as Bambi walks away from the crowd, and
The owl will just say his name is Greg Davis.
perfect. The Greg the owl.
Yes.
Nailed it. Welcome, Greg. So as Bambi is sitting alone or contemplating, maybe Thumper's with him, we hear the swoosh of owl wings, and Greg, the friendly owl, lands across from this- with wings wide open. Yes, so Greg, the friendly owl, gets an awesome Creed song, of course, named just for him. They're all just knockoffs of Arms Wide Open.
It's
but
the
that's
only part I
okay.
know. I'm sorry. Greg's wings wide open.
And lands on this log across from Bambi and Thumper, and has this kind of Yoda to Luke Skywalker moment of
Great.
like, just sharing some wisdom. Again, like, Bambi, you know what you have to do. I can show you how to do it. Like the man and the son, they have a cabin on the edge of the woods. They always have. You know the place. And maybe Bambi has like a flashback of like, and sees the cabin as a young Bambi. And the man and at that point, the hunter and a young son. Maybe even Bambi and the young son interacted briefly as Bambi hid in a bush from the hunter. near this cabin, and the son kind of looked interested in
Shot him with a BB gun.
I was gonna say threw a rock at his head, hit
Yeah.
him with a slingshot, did something crappy and lame, and Bambi ran away. But he has that flashback as Greg, the friendly owl, lands and shares this message, and now he knows where to go, how to do it, and Thumper says, "I have a plan," and we're gonna kick off into a sweet action, invasion scene in just a moment. I think we're gonna go take this cabin, cut the head off the snake, John. We gotta take out the man and his son and free the forest.
Yeah, because Greg's parting words were like something to the effect of, "If I haven't made it clear to you, you have to burn it all down."
Right. The forest? Oh, Greg, wait. I don't think he meant the forest.
Well, arms going away now.
Damn it, Creed. Right.
So the Bambi and maybe the Spec Ops crew, like Bambi and Thumper,
Flower, Petal,
probably too
Chipmunk
chicken to
ninjas.
come.
Okay.
The Chipmunk Ninjas maybe a little too actually. Before the men left, they would have like sent the construction workers out there who in this Disney movie are fine to do this, or just like leave no woodland creature you see alive, push them all off the property. We're opening tomorrow. They've ruined the Creed performance.
Right. Creed's
So, like,
angry.
most of Bambi's Red Heart militia is kind of used up.
Okay.
Going back and forth with the construction crew. So I think as long as it works, Bambi and Thumper, the original Spec Ops crew, take wise old Greg the Owl's advice and head towards the original cabin.
Okay. All right. And yeah, I like this. That I like the plan maybe was to stick together, but now all the other forest animals are being attacked, maybe even captured. Set up the have a heart traps or something, which catches these little animals, the man and the son do, out of just anger from everything being screwed up at their ceremony. And I like this. And I think instead of them just walking in there and owning the place, like I think it should be a moment where the son and the man kind of win and capture Thumper too, and Bambi's able to just escape last minute, and now we get to see for the first time the son kind of come out of the cabin as his father sits there on the porch with a shotgun in his lap, and as the son's now barking orders and really doing everything. His dad's basically retired, telling them, right, like you said, John, like, leave no stone unturned, flush the forest out, kill any creature you see except for Bambi, leave Bambi to me.
Nice.
And so we get another fun. Now we get a sweet Creed, heavier rock action.
With arms wide open.
Arms. And we get an amazing battle scene where it's but it's instead of a Braveheart type battle, this is a John Wick type battle. This is Bambi's John Wick moment where he's basically taking these construction workers / hunters on one, hiding behind trees, hiding in bushes. They get close and are trying to attack these smaller woodland creatures. Bambi pounces on him, headbutts him to start.
You just hear like a boom, and then you're impaled on the tree.
Is that some coconuts? What is that noise? Oh! Dead. So he's spearing people into trees. But I think, because this will be fun, every time he kills a man, Bambi maybe at this point too, so like Thumper's captured, his forest is under attack, he saw the owl, his mom's dead, he's closer he's ever been to the man and this man's son. He's probably having, like you said, a panic attack, an episode, and maybe just like blacks out into like a rage blackout.
Yep.
Doesn't even realize what he's doing, and
he caught Thumper's rabies.
Right. They've been sharing the same sleeping bag. Things got weird. It's lonely in the forest, and now Bambi's got a little bit of the rabies in him, maybe. And right, so like he kills the first man, and he's sitting there, his antlers covered in blood. The guy is laying next to the tree, bleeding out, and maybe like reaches up, the man does, with his hand to kind of point at Bambi, and Bambi sees his hand and just like bites it clean off with one swipe of his face, and the hand flops on the ground, and the guy screams and dies. And then Bambi looks down at the hand, looks at the man, and goes, why have a finger when I can have a whole fist? And just smashes his hoof into the man's dead hand and wears it like a glove. And then like action rolls off screen back into the woods. And then you see him sneak up behind another guy, and he, hoof kicks him, and then hoof kicks him to distract him, and then with the man's hand glove, grabs this human's throat rip right out like Patrick Swayze in Roadhouse. He's gonna throat rip this dude, instantly dies, falls down, and then Bambi's like, "What's better than 1, 2?" And then shoots off this guy's hand, shoves himself in that. So he's got 2 human hands. And he's running on his back hooves. But that's cool. He's got antlers.
He's becoming the thing that kills.
Is that right? And so the montage, a lot of montages, like, but that's great. Love montages. It's him just going around killing a man one by one, wiping out all these hunters and construction people, wearing their feet, wearing their clothes. The last guy puts his face on his head, gets caught in his antlers, but puts a kind of a construction helmet on top of him. So he's killed like 8 people at this point, covered in blood. And it's just like crunching their bones as he walks on 2 feet through the forest.
Like kids in a trench coat.
Exactly right. Just waddling about like the most terrifying thing you've ever seen in your life. A deer in a human suit walking up this hill towards where the son is barking orders from the deck. Again, like kind of next to his dad. And maybe Bambi knows that it's not enough to kill them. This is a psychological war. He wants to destroy the man. The man ruined Bambi's life. It's not enough just to throat rip this dude. So he just, as the son moves away from the porch, as he's calling on his radio, like, Fred, Jerry, call in, where are you? What's happening out there? As the radios are just next to their dead bodies in the woods. The son goes to check things out, leaving the man alone on the porch. And I think we'll film it if and when this is made, of just kind of Bambi sneaking up in his creepy Hannibal Lecter like face mask on, whispering, "Now we can speak. Don't worry about it."
True terror, just becoming death incarnate.
Exactly right, becoming man himself in the only way he can.
And the old hunter man, because he's an old hunter man, probably he's like, "Is that you, boy?"
Right.
How are we doing out there? And Bambi just keeps creepily as fuck walking towards him until he gets right into his face. The old hunter realizes now that this convoluted human-formed deer is not his son. He starts begging, "Prince of the Forest, please have mercy on me and my son. We didn't mean it." Right. And Bambi just gets right into his ear and says, "You'll watch him fall like I watched her."
Right. And then the man's paralyzed in fear. Before he can do anything, Bambi's gone. Scampers off. Crunching bones in his hoof as he runs kind of into the woods a little bit. And at this point, we can probably get the son, who's now deeper into the woods away from his father, the man, maybe monologuing a little bit, trying to, he can't find his construction people. Maybe he's in his buddies, his hunter friends. Maybe he's a little worried that
I've hunted more deers than,
right.
He's like, I like that.
Exactly.
Talking himself up as he's out there alone, surrounded by all his dead men.
Exactly right. So the great Prince of the Forest has returned. They're calling you the Forest Phantom, all kinds of names. Not so tough without your friends, though. Right. So a little freaking out, a little panicky. And maybe like from the distance, you just hear Bambi, again, still covered in a skin suit, yell something like, "You can call me the Duke of Destruction. You sorry excuse for an ape."
With arms open.
And then he picks up one of the hunter's shotguns and cocks it with his creepy bloody
double
bone
hands.
And again, he's still a deer, so horrible shot, but fires at the son. It misses him, and the son just kind of, fires back, but runs to take cover. And so now Bambi had the drop on the son, and the fight continues, where it's just now Bambi and the son one-on-one in this shootout in the woods, as Bambi's, again, still in a human suit. Maybe it's starting to fall apart a little bit now, and just he's now covered in blood, but he's getting closer and closer to the sun.
It's convincing enough, I think, for any child watching this. It's deathly terrifying. The goal is to make you more afraid of Bambi than I was sad for Bambi's mother, and I hope we're doing it.
Exactly right.
But I think there's enough human suit left with the crunching of bones. Whereas the man is kind of monologuing and talking about how he's going to skin Thumper and eat him up and
turn him into a
wear
stew.
Thumper like a pair of gloves and give him to his kids and teach him and Bambi's just like ninja creeping up and he's got but he's got the boy like within arm's reach.
Yeah.
And rather than deliver a fatal monologue, which every villain does and then dies for it, you see Bambi just rear back, ready to come in and like drum punch this guy like Karate Kid 2.
I love that. And let's do a fun little twist here. As he's about to do that, a trap springs up from the forest floor, one of those net traps, and grabs Bambi. And the son just turns and laughs. Ha, I knew it was you. And then is terrified seeing him covered in his friend's skin and face. Oh, God, is that Fred? Oh, my Jesus. Fred had kids. You're a monster.
Skip the hands and everything's falling
his
off.
Hands falls out as he goes up in the net and hits the son in the face with all these body parts. Amazing. But he catches Bambi, who's freaking out in the net in the tree, filled with rage, blood coming out of his nose, blood all over his body. And the son pulls his gun up and says, it's easier than shooting fish in a barrel, shooting a deer.
Which I've done a lot of.
I love doing that. I love killing barrels and fish. Nothing like a nice salmon fillet that's full of buckshot. Like to crunch my teeth when I eat it. Not the brightest man. That's why I went into real estate. And so this is it. Bambi's locked in. He can't move. And maybe, as he flails his last breath
with arms wide open
from the distance. I don't know if it's swinging on a vine is too much. Maybe just flying out of the woods is a flash, a deer-shaped flash that collides with the sun, headbutts him 20 feet back into the forest. And it's the one and only, it's Faylene.
Glad we brought her back.
Bambi's wife, John. She didn't die. She wasn't mysteriously gone. She was wherever she was. Who cares? We'll never address it.
Yeah,
but
this
she's
only
here
took
now.
like 3 days. So
right. She's just a slow walker.
Bambi said he was going away for work.
Right, exactly. And he had ADHD. He got sidetracked, started a revolution. It happens. So she's here, coming back because the kids are crying. Bills need to be paid.
You missed your therapy appointment. Oh my God!
I called everybody. Gee, you're in this net. What are you doing out here? Thumper drunk. And so headbutts the son. He goes flying into the woods, and then Faylene with her hooves gets Bambi down, lets Thumper out. The other woodland creatures are now not running from anybody because Bambi's killed them all, and so they kind of gather up and get Bambi out of the net. Thumper's again here.
We need to take down the boy.
Yeah, we can't wait.
We can't let him get out of here.
We can't wait.
Actually, no. Thumper's nowhere to be found.
Okay, all right. Maybe he just escaped.
Bambi's
right away.
explaining this to Faylene. Bambi's explaining this to Faylene.
Perfect.
Like, we need to take down the sun. I figured out what I'm supposed to do. I talked to my mom and Greg Davis, the magical owl of wisdom. I know what I need to do. You have to help me. We have to go get the sun. He's getting away. Thanks for the help, but he's too far away. And as they're talking, I think is when Harrison will explain what happens.
Oh God, yes. I think we just see the son kind of stumble out of the woods onto a road and just kind of like, oh, thank God, I'm going to get out of here. And I'm bringing back the army and the National Guard and the police. And as he's walking down the road, holding his thumb out to hitchhike, sees a beautiful, glistening 1989 blue Ford Bronco zipping towards him. Is blasting Creed.
Windows down.
Down, exactly right. And he's, the son holds his thumb out. Hey, slow down. I need help. I'm in danger. And and then it almost sounds like the Bronco starts to speed up a little bit, and the son goes, "What? Does this guy not see me?" He starts waving, and then we zoom into at that point, just flies down the road. This Bronco does, colliding with the son, shooting him into a tree, exploding him.
Definitely.
He explodes
with arms wide open.
And we look inside as the windshield wipers wipe the blood and bones off the front of the car, and it's Thumper in there.
Smoking a pack of Durals.
Exactly right. 2 skunks on each arm, just covered in blood and drool. Exactly right. Sniffing his bunny foot for whatever reason. His lucky bunny foot necklace. Just
Skunk, yeah, break me a good line of that 8-ball Coke.
I'm flying, girls. You seeing this? And yeah, the sun is turned basically to red dust. In the eye shot, of course, still sitting on the porch, paralyzed with fear of the man, the one who started it all, who killed Bambi's mom so many years ago. Watching all of this happen, first of all, his mind is blown. Animals are talking, walking on feet, driving cars. Like, he's having a full-on freak out. But also, his son just exploded into a bunch of pink mist. So that's riling him up or shocking him to the point where he's basically sitting on the porch, almost having a heart attack.
And I think this is a beautiful Disney closing. Bambi leads this procession of all the woodland creatures united under Bambi and mainly Thumper's strict regime. All the Red Heart Militia are there saluting as Bambi goes up the stairs to confront the hunter that killed his mother.
Yes.
And I think with it's silent as this is happening.
Yeah.
And then you see Greg the Owl fly by, and you get a with wings wide open. And Bambi, I wish I knew more Creed songs, but does anyone? And then Bambi looks at the hunter and uses all of his Prince of the Forest, Duke of Destruction power to utter human speak one more time to let him know you've already died inside. Right. As he kind of like painfully gets the words out. And then just turns around and starts walking back towards the forest.
I like that. So Bambi's going to spare him, it would seem. And maybe all the woodland creatures are a little bit shocked, but also kind of like, that's noble. Bambi is a noble leader. Finally, the great prince has returned, everything. And then as they're walking slowly back to the forest, Bambi just stops, does a 180, goes, screw that, turns around, and with his 12-point antlers, and Bambi just headbutts the man right in the face, gouging both his eyes out, leaving him screaming on the porch, still alive, but now eyeless. And Bambi, in like, heavy breathing, you can live, but the last thing you've seen is your world end. And every time you hear a leaf rustle or a branch break, or someone singing Creed in the distance, you'll have to hope it's not me coming to finish the job. But don't worry, you won't hear me coming.
And you hear Thumper like honking the Bronco horn, jamming Creed. Bunch of ladies around.
Exactly right.
Zooming out now, you see the forest starting to regrow, and I think Bambi leading his 2 older children now to the Prince of the Forest / Duke of Darkness cave to have them in the ceremony. And then you notice is right as we're getting ready to fade to black, Bambi goes down to the ashes of his mother and goes to bless his 2 children as the inheritors of the forest.
Yeah.
And then as he does it, you see him with still one human finger rub the ash on their forehead.
Yes. Exactly right. And then you pans back a little bit and you see the cave is full of all the weapons the men have left behind. And Bambi puts his bandana back on and just looks at his weird, now kind of probably necrotic finger, but it's still working somehow. And just kind of smiles to himself. For all of man's faults, having a trigger finger isn't one of them.
Beautiful. We get the credits roll. We get a beautiful April showers, covered by Creed.
Yeah, bullet holes in the Tranquil Pines luxury cabin sign, which is now covered in vines and trees are growing in that field. And it could zoom out almost in the same, and maybe like it zooms out a little bit and you start to hear like local radio chatter and stuff and the local news, and it's like people in the small Maine town, Happy Forest Town. So I was going to say Happy Forest Town are leaving in droves as the animals seem to have taken it back over, and it starts to fade. And then you see a time lapse of kind of the forest taking the town back. All thanks to Bambi. A lot of blood, a lot of death.
April showers, bring me flowers.
Exact. Creed has work again. All is right with the world. The balance has been returned to this part of the forest, and man has hightailed it and left. And Bambi gets to be a prince of something other than a patch of dirt, a patch of dust and grass, but a thriving forest fed by the blood of man. For generations to come. But they've got those guns in the cave just in case they decide to ever come back. And it could be almost everyone has a trigger finger. We can figure all that out. But they're just prepared. That's all if we only had fingers, it never would have happened in the first place. That was it, John. I think we did it.
Masterfully. At least better than, I like this version better than just watching Bambi's mom die.
Exactly right. We got vengeance and then some. A lot of death, a lot of wearing people's skin. A lot of animals shooting guns somehow. A lot of Creed. This movie had it all. Weird Thumper sex games. We need to talk about that. What we did.
And really the same message as the first Bambi movie, right? Like, same message, just told at a more R-rated level.
Hell yeah.
Although you never really saw what Thumper's girls did for money, so maybe it's just PG-13 plus.
Maybe we'll see. We'll let the MPA figure that out. We're just here to make magical art, and we've done it again. So that's a wrap on Bambi's Revenge. Forest justice has been served.
Next week we're back with a brand new Fast Five, and trust us, you're gonna want in on this one.
Yeah, let's just say we might be featuring a very special beer.
A beer so special, it might be our first proper sequel.
A beer that's begging for a proper sequel, featuring genetic sex clones, identity theft, and more sand-related deaths than a slip and slide at Burning Man. So vote wisely, clone recklessly, and as always, peace, punch.
Give me your finger.
Finger.